I've taken a drug and I've gone mad now.
If you look at it through his horror lens, that is a horror sequence.
Timo's gonna Timo, and I'm here for it.
I think it's shot so well.
Saya butuh senjata. Ambil.
I am the most complete fighter in the world. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
Stick around. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate on me.
Dodge this.
Merry festive season. Happy Christmas probably in the past and Happy New Year in the future. Completely dependent on when you are listening to this. It's Dodge This Action Movies Unleashed. It's episode 25. It's the big 4 and the big end of year roundup. My name is Simon Fielder. I'm coming in hot from Amsterdam, North Holland, the Netherlands. Joining me as ever across the pond, the proverbial pond. It's more of a river or a lake or a channel. It's live from London, Matthew Elizabeth Heighton.
Thanks for giving me a great middle name there. And thanks for getting really slick with these intros. Really to the point, to the beat. But hello, yes. Hi, hello. Happy Christmas. Merry New Year. Said those backwards. That was actually a genuine mistake. We're in for a good podcast.
There's no retakes in this podcast. The whole thing is streamed live. I'm being told by my producer it's not streamed live.
Don't pretend we've got a producer.
I'm also being told in my other ear, there is no producer. You are listening to the producer talking right now. Hey, it's very exciting. This is it's our first technical calendar year of Dodge This. We started at the end of 2021 in, I think, November or October. So we've had the full run of this year. And whew, what a year it's been. But that's all to come. We are going to talk about a few trailers as ever. We are going to have a little deep dive into our feature presentation, which is Timo Tchadanto's The Big 4 on Netflix. And we're going to wrap up with a literal wrap up of the year. A few closing thoughts as we head into 2023. Maybe a few top picks from the year from myself, Simon Fielder, and joining me as ever, live from London, it's Matthew Caroline Heighton.
I don't like this voice. I don't like this voice.
Fair play. Hey, it's been 2 in a row, Matt, for you, which is this used to be nothing, but in recent weeks, get hammering you down for 2 episodes in a row is an absolute treat. What have you been up to in the last 2 weeks?
A lot of Christmas drinks have been happening.
Of course,
had a whole birthday in the middle there.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. That was nice.
And the pod went out on your actual birthday. I threatened it, and then it happened. So I don't know if you were as excited as I was about that. Don't know if you were otherwise engaged.
It was a very busy day. I'll be honest. It was a very busy day.
You weren't listening to the podcast.
But, I mean, in terms of what have I been watching in that time?
Yeah, mainly that.
I managed to get through all of the Wednesday series on Netflix, which I enjoyed very much.
That's got to be background watching, surely.
No. Big old Addams Family fan. So, and a big Tim Burton fan. So I thought I'll give it a go. Really enjoyed it.
Is Burton involved in this one?
He directs them all, I think.
Does he indeed?
Yeah.
Okay, and is it textbook Burton?
It's Burton on form, I think. I think it's a very strong series. It's definitely like for sort of early young adult sort of age. But I think it translates. I think it's got some really good stuff in it. And if you're into something a little kooky, I think it probably is for you.
What if you're into something creepy and kooky, mysteriously
spooky? No, that's the Addams Family. This is Wednesday, the spin-off.
Oh, right. I've completely got the wrong end of the stick here.
Yeah.
Which family is she from?
She's from the Addams Family.
She's from the Smith family. Wednesday Smith.
Wednesday Rebecca Smith.
I'll be honest, I saw it pop up on my Netflix menu, but didn't give it a second thought because it looked exactly pitched at the YA crowd and not old Symes.
Well, I think you'd hate it if that's
Fair
any
play.
consolation.
Well, just to delight you, the only thing I've watched in the last 2 weeks, not the only thing, but I've chiefly made it my mission to start on ANDOR. Since last episode. You were screaming it from the rooftops.
Yes.
And I finally dug in. And I think I'm up to episode 3 or 4.
Oh, it's about to get very good.
I'm enjoying it. I think it took, first couple of episodes slowly. And then episode 3 was solid. Also featured a very good action scene in that big sort of warehouse with a big metal stuff hung off the ceiling. Some fun stuff happening in there. And then, and then it sort of starts, drawing you in. I think all the things that you said about it is that it's like an HBO version of Star Wars. Like it doesn't do like cliffhangers or anything. It just sort of it's just sort of like, and that is the end of this episode. Goodbye.
It's gripping. Honestly, it's about to get so good. Oh,
I love
so
that.
jealous.
I love the feeling when someone else is on the ride that you've been on and you're like, you are gonna whoo you. Yeah. So it's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it also in the way where latterly in sort of Game of Thrones or maybe initially in Game of Thrones, when after a few episodes of Andor, I was like, oh, right, they've clearly filmed this at Pinewood since 97% of the people in it are British actors.
Have you got to the bit where they went to the Barbican? It's incredible. So most of Star Wars is filmed in Pinewood, I think, because in Rogue One, they use Canary Wharf Tube Station for one of these sequences.
Oh, that's
it's really obvious. They've just decorated it up when you know the station.
It's like, a very Star Warsy tube station. In fairness,
well,
very futuristic.
Wait till you see the Barbican, because it's amazing how they've used it as a physical set piece. And then they've scaled it up to such a Star Warsy extent. It's some of the best location VFX I've ever seen.
Wow.
Incredible.
All right. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm also excited in the Game of Thrones way just to see who pops up, like in terms of which British character actors will pop up in this, or which people who you sort of tangentially know will have a really small role. Already, Doc Brown's popped up. What an absolute treat. Absolute treat to see Doc Brown, the comedian, rapper, actor in there. Ben Bailey Smith is his real name. But, true heads will know him as Doc Brown. The guy from The Bear, he's popped up there.
Still not watched The Bear.
The girl from Game of Thrones who Arya trains with Arya, the face, I forgot what she was, but I was like, where is she from? Oh, yes. She hates Arya.
She's great in this. She is really good. It's good to see some solid Mon Mothma-ing as well. I can never remember what the actress is called who plays Mon Mothma in the new ones, but apparently she was set up to play her in the prequel trilogy and it never happened. It's really nice to know that she came back for the new trilogy and all this stuff.
Yeah. When she came in, I was like, what? Oh, I know her. Where do I know her from? And then I was like, oh, it's the other Star Wars films. She just has a different haircut. Yeah. So far, very good. Also went to the actual cinema this week to see a non-action movie, which when we get to the roundup of the year, I think this will become more salient. I went to see Triangle of Sadness.
Oh, is it good?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, enjoyed it a great deal.
That means it's good if you enjoyed it, because you don't like things.
That is not true, but in terms of the roles that we play on this podcast, yes, I will lean into that. Again, when we get to the year-end roundup.
That's not a role. You generally don't like most things.
I don't not like most things. I won't let that stand. I'm sorry, Matthew. As the producer of this podcast, I will not let it stand. I know what I like, and I like what I know, and that's how I've got to go through the rest of my life.
I like this voice.
No, I did enjoy it. I haven't seen the director's previous works, but I am sort of aware of him and what he does, and sort of
what's his other work?
He did Force Majeure, which he's Swedish, I believe, and he did another movie called The Square. Force Majeure had a remake with Will Ferrell and I want to say Kristen Wiig, which really flew under the radar. It was one of those sort of like, oh, this is an unnecessary remake kind of vibes. Anyway, it makes sort of like social commentary / satire, and this is exactly that. Yeah, there's lots of like awkwardness. There's lots of pauses and very like measured moments, and then there's a sequence in the middle that is just like, I don't want to ruin it, but it's just like an incredible sort of piece of like farce / slapstick comedy on a boat, which I would say is worth the entry price alone. Okay. Yeah, very enjoyable. Good. And a nice break from watching people be variously kicked in the head or shot to pieces.
He knows what he likes.
I knows what I likes and I like. Are you my son?
No.
Eric?
No.
Eric,
Please stop.
Where's
Please.
Eric?
Please stop.
Have you watched any movies?
I watched not many movies. I've not had much time. I have watched a few, but nothing. Oh, Beverly Hills Cop. Rewatched Beverly Hills Cop.
You watched the whole of Wednesday, which is probably like what 10
Yeah, but
hours.
I do the stuff that I watch with my wife and the stuff that I watch when she's gone to bed. Beverly Hills Cop being one of those.
When she's gone to bed.
Yeah,
gotcha.
It was great. I've not watched Beverly Hills Cop in about 15 years, and
Is
it
it
just
still
came
good?
up on. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really lean film.
Yeah. How long is
It's
it?
great. It's about
97.
It's not that long.
105.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Oh, they don't make them like they used to, do they? All these Triangle of Sadness, 2 hours to end the big four. They're all
2
too
hours
long.
20 has become the 90 minutes of the post 2000. This was Big Four was 2 hours 21, wasn't it? Yeah.
And it's rare that you. Yeah, I'm going to say this and then I'll probably regret it immediately. It's rare that you watch a 220 movie and go, exactly the right length.
Yeah.
Needed those extra 20 minutes.
Yeah,
we'll get to the big four. But
should we do some trailers? We've only got a few, so let's get through them.
Yeah, okay.
We
let's
actually
head
technically
into-
only got one trailer this week.
That's true, yes. The other one's more of a sort of discussion point, isn't it? Counterpoint to a trailer we've already seen, but very interesting. Here we go. Yeah, let's tether the trailer to the 4x4. Lot of voice, really angling for some new voiceover bookings in the new year. So there's gonna be a lot of voice work this year.
So it's going to be a reel.
It's just my reel. I just end a 1 hour podcast and go, there's some stuff in there if you want to hire me.
This is a bit of a segue, but I once did an audition for something. It was, I'm just going to say it. It was for Billy Piper's series on Sky.
Diary of a Call Girl?
No,
different one.
Different one.
Shame. That would have been a good story.
But basically, they wanted me to audition as a host of Comic-Con to interview Billy Piper in the series. So for my self-tape, I sent them a clip of me interviewing Billy Piper at Comic-Con. And just sent that in.
And I mean, the punchline to this story is, did you get the job?
Absolutely not.
Of course not. Of course not. Incredible scenes. Right, let's do the actual trailer first. Because Marco Zaror from Undisputed 3, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
He is the Chilean martial arts master who has popped up on the scene some years ago. Kind of exists in that DTV world, but is clearly a very skilled fellow. He's going to be in John Wick 4.
He's too big to be as skilled as he is.
He's so big, though. Yeah, he's a Hulk.
So controlled.
Yeah, he's got some moves. Yeah, so it could be a big year for old Zaror. Anyone who's in John Wick 4, I'm delighted for. Adkins, Zaror, Yen. Oh, it's going to be a treat. This, though, is him teaming up with a director he's worked with before. And, I mean, it's called The Fist of the Condor. You can watch the trailer. Link is in the show notes, as usual. I'm both excited for it and the fact that it's clearly takes itself so seriously.
I don't think it does. I think you're wrong.
It stars Marco Zaror and Marco Zaror. because he's playing two roles.
I don't think it does take. I think it's like it looks like a love letter to the 70s martial arts genre.
That is true, yes. Like a Shaw Brothers movie, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it takes itself that seriously, but I think it plays itself seriously.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It has the potential, I think, to be very good. As I've said, like
it looks incredible.
Your boy's got the moves, and it's also got a few other people who also got the moves. I hope it delivers in that way of like being like, what a nice love letter / also still works as a modern action movie.
Yeah, it looks great. All it was missing for me on this trailer was a voiceover going, "He was the fist."
Yes.
That was all it was missing. It would have been absolutely perfect.
I think that would have pitched it exactly right. And then I would have gone, oh, I see what they're doing. It's like, like a pastiche homage.
Trained in the deadly arts.
Right. Whereas it came across to me as like a little bit too serious. And then also when the title comes up, The Fist of the Condor, Part 1, you're like,
oh, yeah.
Ambitious.
That's
Very
the bombshell.
ambitious.
That's the bombshell. But again, that might be for the exact reasons why Kill Bill was split, because they needed about a 3.5-hour film, but didn't want to put out a 3.5-hour film.
Maybe.
Given what we just said, they might have done the best thing they could do.
But Kill Bill was like already, Part 2 was definitely going to be made, right? This is clearly like a DTV
Kill Bill was
movie.
Pitched as one script, so I know this because I randomly chatted to a guy who worked on when they put out the books, the script books in Faber. Randomly chatted to a guy, and we're talking about Tarantino, and he basically said Kill Bill was split because it was too long, but in order for it to have an ending to Part 1, they put in the bit with, does she know about her daughter? And originally that wasn't in the script. They just put that as a cliffhanger to Part 1. And he said that the emotional punch at the end of an entire Kill Bill just in one part film, just her walking into that room and her daughter going, "Bam, mommy, you're dead," was like such a like, oh, fuck. Like, because there'd been no real mention of it all the way through. So you didn't know she was working towards that. And it was apparently incredible. But they did the sensible thing and they split into 2 parts.
Which is quite extraordinary in the latter-day Tarantino oeuvre for anyone to be like, Quentin, you're not going to want to hear this, but I think this is too long.
I think it might have been his decision to split it.
Yeah.
And probably someone going, we can cash in loads.
Yeah, also. Also, let's make 2 movies.
But also, I will chat about Kill Bill a bit when we talk about the Big Four, because I think it's a big influence on this film.
A few little nods. Yeah, for sure, for sure. The second part of the trailer section is less a trailer and more I suppose, promotional vignette that was released this week about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Interesting. That's actually, I didn't realise we were segging so neatly into a massive blockbuster movie that is deliberately being shot in 2 parts. It was a breakdown / behind the scenes documentary about one stunt in Dead Reckoning Part 1, where the human insanity machine, Tom Cruise, casually rides a motocross bike off a mountain and then pulls a parachute out and floats to safety 7 times in one day.
It's great. It's great. I bloody love that he does his own stunts. I love it.
I mean, it's sort of incredible, isn't it? I think coming from this genre and like the history of Jackie Chan and all that sort of thing, this is like a different, Jackie Chan did it all with like no health and safety, whereas this is like, we've basically spent a year for just, Tom's been learning to ride motocross. He's done 100 parachute jumps. We've got time and money.
He's done all this stuff before, but I love that he dedicates himself. So he's like precision when he does this.
It's incredible.
I mean, which
need.
You do need that. But I mean, like if this was this was the 70s, it'd just be some guy smoking a fag and they go, "You ready to go?" And they'd be like, yeah,
that's true. Jump off the horse, mate. We'll see where you land.
It's fascinating.
He is, I feel like he is cinema. Tom Cruise, right? He lives and breathes. He's like, this, I'm not going to win an Oscar for this movie, but I'm going to make this the best action movie since the last great action movie that I made, which was where I sat in that fighter jet for ages, went for real. Absolutely incredible. You've got to hand it to him. I mean, Christopher McQuarrie, the director of these movies, there's a real, like, I don't know how you would, like a sort of put upon spouse vibe where Tom like lands and he's like, yeah, I think we got it, but I think we could do it again. And Christopher McQuarrie's kind of like, oh, Jesus Christ, he wants to do it again. Well, we have to, obviously, like, but if he gets injured again, if he just accidentally dies.
It's not just injury in this one. It's like,
he could 100% die.
But it's also a thing because weirdly, a lot of my TikTok is watching base jumping. The algorithms really nailed it, and there's so many where a little gust of wind just carries them into a cliff.
Extraordinary.
It's just like when you've got it, you think. Imagine the insurance on Tom Cruise for that level of stunt.
I mean, there's no way. He must just have to sign something that says no insurance. Sorry, mate, you're on your own on this one.
But it's mad. I mean, if you're into films and action, which I assume you are because you're here.
Yes, please.
This documentary is 9 minutes. It's well worth a watch just to see the level, like, because they say it's the biggest stunt ever put together, and it is just the level of like they need helicopters to build a rig, which is massive, and it's just going to go up for this one day and come down. The amount of money that's gone into a practical effect, not to mention like the test rigs they built, the amount of times they took him up skydiving. They also did the Paramount Plus announcement for Top Gun Maverick whilst doing this. I don't know if you saw that yesterday.
No, I saw like the thumbnale of it, but I didn't see it. Is it him?
Yeah, he literally just jumped out of a plane and then plugs it as he's in free fall.
So casual. Casual.
But I mean, it's incredible. Like,
and that's before you even think about, and they to cover this in the like you say, it's a 9-minute long little mini doc. How they would film this, because like Cruise has put in all this effort so you can know it's him doing it. So then you have to see his face, right? Like riding a motorbike off a cliff into a base jump. So then they have to like come up with all these rigs. They do like maths predictions about where the bike goes, so where they know how to put the drone so you can see it. It's incredible.
It is. It's new level. It's a stunt that couldn't have existed the stunt could have existed, but the filming of it wouldn't have been the way it is 10 years ago. Like, it'd have to be a multiple camera setup. They'd need helicopters with telephoto lenses. They'd need, like, Jeeps running alongside it. It's just
extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, the Mission Impossible franchise is, I suppose, deliberately becoming the new Bond franchise.
Yeah.
Bond is still Bond and still doing that, but Mission Impossible is like, I would argue I enjoyed Fallout more than the last Bond movie.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I liked the last Bond movie, but Fallout was like, holy shit, this is a fucking movie.
But again, we've talked about that. We mentioned this on the podcast before, but Mission Impossible, like the first one, they're using floppy disks. It's not a new franchise.
It's been going 20 years.
Yeah. It's
incredible.
Mad. Anyway, should we get to our feature? Because we've got a lot to get through today.
Yeah, very excited about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. That's a 2023 hot piece of business, as they say in this podcast.
Yeah.
Shall we? Let's get into the feature, Prez.
Let's do it.
I'm abbreviating everything. Let's have a look at some trails. Let's have a look at the feet Prez.
Keep that in. I like that.
And now, our feature presentation.
Dodge this.
It's the Big Four. It's straight to Netflix. It's directed by Timo Tchajanto. Practiced saying it so I didn't flub it in the pod. The director of Headshot and famously The Night Comes For Us. It's a big budget for this genre of movie / Netflix Indonesia. It's Timo being asked to deliver something slightly less stabby, I would imagine. Imagine someone at Netflix going, we love Night Comes For Us, but can you do that? But more for like a family vibe? And he's gone, I'll try.
You've mentioned this. You see, this is where me and you so differ. Because you have just given his action CV, which quite rightly. But what I love about this film, Simon, is it gives his what his passion is and what his origins in the industry are. he gets to flaunt a little bit of his horror chops in this. Because he is
Yes.
traditionally a horror director. And a lot of this, the style of
That's
this.
true. Yes, you're right. And I haven't seen the horror things.
He's got some great ones. VHS 2, I love. ABC of Horror is just, it's in places brilliant, in places anthology, like not as brilliant. But yeah, he came into the industry as a horror director. And I think a lot of his passion is obviously horror and ultra violent movies. He's obviously got a lust for gore in a sort of
Yeah.
Tarantino-esque way, which is quite fun. And I think what's lovely about this, the first scene of this is entirely, until it gets into the action of the scene, it's entirely like the opening to a horror film. I
Yeah.
think it's incredible that he's married his two strengths in one film. I think it's the biggest strength of this film is he's put so much of himself into it. And stylistically, this film is very impressive. I think it's shot absolutely beautifully. I think
Yeah.
we've talked about this a lot, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of this with certain scenes, but the way he films action is how most directors should look at film in action. I think the camera is so active in every action sequence in this. And we're not even got to the point that this is a comedy as well. It's an action
Yeah,
comedy.
yeah, yeah.
It's not a straight action. It's not an action horror. It's an action comedy. But when the action hits, he focuses on making the action very active, very sort of there's sort of a kinetic energy to every scene, every camera movement. But he's not forgotten it's a comedy, so he'll also know where to move the camera to make the action sort of quite intense and quite active. But he'll also go, "But I've got to hold it there for a second for a comedy beat." And I think,
For a guy to get hit in the balls.
yeah, or whatever it is, or even just
Yeah.
like a funny face. I
Yeah.
think from just looking at it from a director's piece of work, from a filmmaking piece of work, I think this is absolutely beautiful. Can we pause 1 second? My Christmas presents have just been delivered. 1 second. 1 second.
Listener, Matthew has now left the room. He's gone to the door where a delivery person, aka Santa, is asking him to sign for his Christmas presents. What do you think? What do you think Matt's getting? If this was a live podcast, this is the point where you could write in the chat your thoughts on what gifts might be arriving at Matthew's house. Are they gifts for Matthew from other people, or are they gifts Matthew is giving to other people? Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll never know. Maybe this becomes a podcast where I just talk aimlessly into the abyss. To add to him shooting and framing, one of the things that I noted and was very keen on as I was watching the movie was his establishing shots are so nice. There's so many really nicely like these sort of Dutch angles that like take in everything, set up
Horror,
the geography.
baby.
Horror, baby. Yeah. And I don't watch a lot of horror, although I did watch Barbarian recently. That reminded me. Didn't mention it in the
I was going to watch it tonight.
I think you would very much enjoy it. We can
so
talk
I've
about
been
that
told.
on the
Next
next
time.
episode. Yeah, okay. But yeah, you're right. I forgot he is such a horror sort of fan and director prior to the action stuff. And I suppose in amongst the action stuff, it's clearly super influenced by all that. It's so gory and unpleasant at times. But yeah, the Dutch angles, that kind of horror tropes do kind of get brought across, I guess, to this, even at times when it's supposedly being a comedy or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's his real strength is he obviously has these passions, but he services the story at all times. So like he genuinely obviously puts a lot of thought, and he's got the money to do this. Like because we've talked about a lot of low budget things that do what they do on a budget, whereas he's clearly Netflix has given him some cash,
Yeah.
and he's gone right. What is the best way for me to enhance what is being said and being seen? And I think that is like such a gift, There's everything is he knows which characters sort of to track, how to sort of close off. So if you're following one of the main characters and it's in an action sequence, he knows not to show you around a corner. He knows not to pull out and show you that someone's there unless it needs that for a beat. So you feel very in with the characters. You don't know who's around the corner. You don't know what they're going to come across. And like there's an action scene on the beach, through the beach huts. And I think it's just one of the best like little shootouts scenes that I've seen all year. I think it's genuinely just, yeah.
Oh,
do you not like that?
That? I think that was one of my least favorite parts of the whole film. Yeah,
I think it's shot so well.
I didn't want to get into the things that annoyed me about the movie yet, but that sequence
isn't that interesting?
Didn't work for me at all. It was just stupid gunmen walking into the line of fire and being killed. It didn't feel. There was a couple of nice moments in it, but it felt like there didn't feel like there was any jeopardy. It felt like, oh, there's a really heavily armed platoon of guys, and they're conveniently going to pop up one at a time, like time crisis, to be
it was very
mown
time
down
crisis
by the two women in the scene.
That was a great little sequence. I thought it was one that I just loved the way it was shot. I loved like that it was that sort of tracking and trailing and stuff.
I think it had good use of, clearly a small set and space, such that it felt confined and it felt like you didn't know what was around each corner. But for me, around each corner was a stupid man wielding a gun and not pointing it at the person and just waiting to be shot.
Again, we didn't want to go into all things that we didn't like about the film. But
let's stay on the happy times first.
But yeah, but this ties exactly to your point here. The only thing that ever not frustrated me, because I don't think it was bad, but it was that very, sometimes everyone gets shot first time, sometimes no one can shoot. And it's the old Star Wars problem. There's a great because I really enjoyed this, so I don't want to taint it. There's a really good, I'm going to get it up now. I looked at some of the IMDb reviews whilst I was looking through the cast earlier.
Yeah.
And there's one guy who gave it 7 out of 10. He said, "This movie has everything except gun recoil." It's like a solid movie with great action, gore, CGI, good humor, but it doesn't have gun recoil whatsoever in the movie. Everyone knows that when you fire a gun, it will kick back. It's called recoil. But this movie fails to show that simple detail. Even when the skinny girl fires the bazooka, no kickback whatsoever. It's a freaking bazooka. Sometimes good attention to detail will make it a great movie. I don't know why I'm so bothered by this reach detail, but overall, this is a good movie. Story is simple. Comedy is good. Cinematography is top notch. Could use recoil.
Oh boy, that is that feels like a mirror being held up to me on this podcast. The problem is, I really like the movie, and I know which parts of the movie I like, but I know I like recoil, and I just don't see it.
Also, I'd read that review before the film.
Oh no!
Doing research.
So all you could see was no recoil throughout the whole movie.
Well, the problem is there is recoil in this film.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
But it's mainly on the shotgun, so I think they should.
I think that guy has got a good point, and it's.
I love how you know it's a guy.
100%.
Even if I did.
That guy is me on a different podcast. He's got a good point, and sometimes I do have to check myself with things like that. And especially in this movie, which I did like, but it delivered in so many ways. I think just to hark back to what you were saying before is that it occupies a very nice space where Netflix have clearly given him a nice amount of money, and that amount of money in Indonesia equals 4 times the amount of money it would be if this was shot in the US. And I think the film feels... The delivery guy's back. Santa's come back again. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
if only this had been the Christmas episode, it would have been delightful that Santa continuously interrupted it. But once again, listener, you're listening to the Simon Fielder Nitpick Hour, where Simon Fielder, completely unchecked by a co-host, is allowed to complain ad infinitum about small details in a film. Thankfully, Matt's come back, and
that was perfect delivery that time.
We can get back to Matt keeping me in check and not talking about recoil too much.
I'm very sorry, just because it's Christmas, guys.
Well, one of the things that I was wondering with the listener while you were away the first time is if these are presents from other people to you or presents that you are gifting to other people, Matthew. I'm sure the listeners are interested.
This is presents for my niece, so they are my most important presents that I'm having delivered. And even though they are from us to my niece...
That's the sound of our entire listenership swooning over you as you said that.
If she asks, should you meet my niece, they're from Santa. They're not from me.
Oh, don't worry. I assumed it was Santa at the door.
Yeah.
It's nice that he came back, though. I guess he had to check the list twice.
The thing was, when he gave me the package and I took the package out of his hand, no recoil.
No. Unrealistic. 2 stars.
Yeah. Anyway.
What's great is that I think even though this movie is arguably mid to low budget, the fact that it's shot in Indonesia, and Netflix Indonesia is a thing, they have offices everywhere, right? And evidently they got a budget. They find the people they like in the regions, and they give them enough money to make whatever they want. And you can't argue that they haven't let Timo make the movie he wanted. No one was going, when we said action comedy, should quite so many people's heads explode in a pool of blood in this movie, Timo?
I don't think you've seen
quite
the
for all the family,
Evil
is
Dead
it?
Franchise, actually.
Exactly. At no point in the making of the Evil Dead movies, maybe with Army of Darkness, they were like, we wouldn't mind if you toned it down a tiny bit. But with this, I'm sure somebody must have gone, does she need to shoot that man 5 times in the face while we watch? Is that necessary? And Timo's like, yes, mate.
Hey, I know exactly which bit you mean. And also, she did the old Western slamming the hammer back as well.
Yeah.
So
Big
yes,
fan.
we did need that.
We did need it. It turns out, yes, because those are the moments where you're like, Timo's going to Timo, and I'm here for it.
But what I said earlier about, I think this is heavily influenced by Kill Bill. I think Timo's got that thing where ultraviolence is sort of his bag when it comes to action. I think the comedy balances it really well. And I do think there was some real... I think Kill Bill was a massive influence on this, to the point where there was both a Kill Bill... There's the exact... what are they called? The 4 assassins in Kill Bill. What are they called?
Oh, I have no recollection. I haven't watched those movies in so long.
Midway through. But they're all snakes. They've got the Deadly Viper Gang. The Deadly Viper Gang. When they do the shot of the 4 of them looking down at the bride in Kill Bill, the Deadly Viper Bank. I can't speak
Careful
today.
now.
Deadly Viper Gang. They have 4 of them set up in a certain way, and it's like the shot that they use of it. When they were on the boat and they were all in t-shirts, it was the exact same framing when they were looking down at the weapons, and I thought it was lovely.
That's fun.
And they did the trunk lift of Pulp Fiction, so there's obviously a massive Kill Bill influence here, even to the point where I'm not going to talk about it, but they're obviously setting up in the hope of a sequel, and they did do that exact thing of it was almost like Part 1 Kill Bill ending.
That's right.
Yeah,
With
so
the old Dalhousie eye patch situation.
Yeah. So I
think
like...
Timo does happily wear his influence is on his sleeves as well. Like yesterday, I saw a tweet from him that said something to that effect, and it was a still from the Big Four, and then underneath it was a still from a Three Stooges movie of them all poking around a corner, and it was like the exact same shot. So absolutely fair play.
Again, though, I think it's sort of got that Bowie-esque, what's it called, magpieing. Like, I think he takes things that he likes, but he turns them into his own thing. I don't think it's like a direct reference or a pastiche. He loves those things. He did it. What's really interesting, I'm in the middle of it at the moment. I'm reading Tarantino's book about 70s cinema. It's interesting to read his influences and what he liked from the era when he was growing up, because he hates the 80s, but he loves the 70s. And that's always been really clear in his filmmaking. It's always clear in filmmaking. There's usually like a 20-year hark back. Like the filmmakers who grew up with certain things twist them into something new 20 years later. So you're always sort of watching a stagger of, like 10-year cycles between 2 different eras. And it's really interesting to see what he really remembers and really loved from the 70s and pulled into his film.
The sort of spaghetti westerns, the 35 mils, everything in super widescreen.
He loved a lot of just gritty, like, dramas and action films. He loved a lot of Steve McQueen movies.
Yeah.
He loved, stuff that was quite... There's that real indie boom in the 70s, which came back when he started in the Miramax years of the 90s. I think now there's this sort of streaming. There's a different kind of indie boom because there's filmmaking is so affordable now in terms of what you can do with very little. But it's interesting to see now, like reading that and watching this, I was very much looking at like, oh, so you got your Tarantino influences, or you got it from there and stuff. It's really nice to watch that sort of trail of cinema come to a new era.
It's sort of mad in a way to think. It's not mad and it is mad, but I suppose having been in my teenage years when Tarantino first came around and him talking about his influences and how he's been influenced by Hong Kong cinema and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then to see someone influenced by Tarantino, I guess it's like the same with music and fashion and everything is cyclical, but for it to be like, oh, already there's like people are,
but it's
taking
the right amount of time
from Tarantino to it was 20 years and we're all
but
I remember when I went to see the pictures.
But it is that language of cinema that what becomes popular is always fascinating, and there's an era after a big film comes out where everyone's doing that sort of thing and you think, oh, that's so that. But it's people like Tito who come this stage further where they clearly love it. They're not doing something because it is the style of the time, they're doing it because it's a part of them. I think that's the difference in stuff. Like we talked about when we watched the trailer for this, and I was like, I obviously am going to love this film, and it was exactly right. And it is because of those things. Whereas Bullet Train, which I really enjoyed, some of their sort of more Tarantino-y bits was a bit like you're doing the style. I don't feel like this is something.
It feels a bit more forced in Bullet Train.
Well, it just feels like something more planned. Whereas in this just feels like you're seeing the director on screen, which I love. I love that when someone's personality. It's like Edgar Wright. You watch an Edgar Wright film, it's unquestionably an Edgar Wright film. A Wes Anderson film is unquestionably a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, it's like the auteur theory, right?
Yeah. See their tropes in someone else's film. And it's instantly like, oh, you clearly like that. It's interesting to see what someone loves and is their self compared to what someone loves and isn't their self. And I think this entire film feels like very much someone's project. Whereas something like Bullet Train feels like something of its era and of its style, harking back to something else, and
slightly more sort of by committee. Not to completely shit on Bullet Train. I think it's fine.
I liked it.
It's so knowing in everything it does that it's like there's nothing is how completely unexpected and like whoa, Whereas in this movie, you kind of you go in thinking, oh, this is an action comedy, and then in the first scene there's like gore and like murders, and you're like, oh okay, this is not like a PG-13 action comedy, this is like a complete sort of reimagining of what you think an action comedy is. It's an action comedy in the Hong Kong mold, I suppose, where it veers tonally so far from someone, having their head shot 5 times into a bloody pulp to the most broad, perhaps regionally accepted, but I would argue doesn't travel so well, farcical comedy. That reminded me of old Hong Kong movies where you're like, the style of comedy is sort of different in different parts of the world.
It's interesting you mentioned the Stooges, because I hadn't really thought of that, but there is definitely like a slapstick style to this sort of comedy, and it's really interesting to see. What really took me out of the film, weirdly, was there some very odd sexual comedy where I was just a bit like, oh, that doesn't translate into something I'm
comfortable with.
Yeah, essentially. And I was a bit like, okay, that's a bit weird. Because this is, and again, I don't think it's a problem, because I think we touched on this earlier. I think with a 2-minute 20 film, there's always something you could lose.
2 hour 20. I'd say if it's 2 minutes 20, you could add a bit. He's having a tough day.
I'm having a really tough day. So many deliveries. So many problems. 2 hours, 20-minute film.
Yes.
You I think you can always shave 20 minutes off it generally.
Agree. And I think this one is no exception.
Yeah. But weirdly, I think, unfortunately, the thing that you could shave out of this film is probably some of the character stuff and some of the
comedy,
the plot stuff. And I do wonder if that is a thing they had to make their decision, because you do need that to make you care for your characters. And weirdly, I just loved being on the roller coaster with this film. And when it did go into character stuff, I was like, yeah, this is nice to know, but I'd rather still be on that roller coaster. And that was it. There's very few. I had very few problems with this film. I thought it was a really fun, enjoyable action film. It's not going to change my life. But again, we talk about this a lot. The older, if I was in my 20s test, I'd probably watch this a few times in a week. If I had Netflix when I was at uni, I'd probably go, I'll just watch that again.
I would agree. If I hadn't seen what I've seen, I would have enjoyed this more. And I did enjoy this movie. And I think there was, if you ever read Total Film, when Total Film magazine came out, they had this patented thing they called the predicted interest curve of a movie. And it was like a little graph, if you remember. And on one axis, on the y-axis, up and down, was how much you're enjoying it. And on the x-axis was time. And like the graph of this movie would probably sort of look like an M. Like at the beginning, I was like, I'm so excited. New Timo movie. And then it started out kind of going, I'm not fucking around with the action, mate. And I was like, all right, I am here for this. And then the middle, where it was after the sort of inciting incident of, spoilers. I don't think it's going to change your enjoyment of the movie. And we've discussed spoilers in so many times previously. The lovely old man dies, and this kind of sets the movie in motion. But up until that point, I was really on board, and I really liked that old man, and he was lovely, and I did feel sad. And then there's a lot of character building stuff, and I don't know. It was like I'm illustrating on screen now for Matthew. I sort of started out here, and then I really wanted to like it. Really wanted to like it.
He's going down.
Really wanted to like it. And it nearly lost me, and then it just got me back at the end with a quite enjoyable action sequence.
I think that's just, this says a lot to modern audiences and time. It's just slightly too long. And for me, it kept me all the way through, but I wouldn't have cried if it was coming in at 2 hours, like at all. But again, I completely agree with that. And I think that the bookends of this film are the great bits.
Yeah.
But again, they've done nothing wrong. There's nothing where I would say, take out that, take out that, take out that.
Well, I think that's the hardest part, isn't it? And I listened to an interview with Timo recently where he was talking about The Night Comes for Us, which is just, I'm doing this from random memory, not a short film. No. That's definitely a probably over 2 hour movie.
But that, to my memory, just doesn't stop.
Right, that's true. I mean, I haven't watched it in a long time. I would like to revisit it. But he was still then talking about, we had to like lose this plot thread, and we had cut this bit out, which meant then we had to lose this. And so, clearly it's a struggle to look at a 2 hour 20 movie and go, what can we lose? Especially when you're like, we're trying to cover 4-5 characters. How does everyone still get their thing?
That's the thing,
arguably the one guy that doesn't really have much of a character and doesn't really do much in the 4.
Doesn't get a redemption arc either.
Probably we could have been the big 3. I don't know.
Yeah, that was one thing that didn't pay off as well. There's a dud in the big 4 essentially.
Yeah,
and you think they're going to get their moment.
And he doesn't really get his moment to shine, and therefore it doesn't really make any sense why he was in it.
This does feel like it's setting up for something else, which I would love to see a part 2 of this. And I'm sure
it will happen, because I think already this seems to be very popular.
Right.
Literally nobody knows how Netflix works behind the scenes, but Timo's tweeted a few, this is the most viewed movie in X amount of countries. So
Which is weird, because they're not pushing it over here. Until you'd show me the trailer, I'd really not heard anything about it. And you think this would be getting a real sort of push. And my algorithm is set for this sort of film.
My algorithm was like already sent me an email weeks ago going, I think you're going to want to add this to your list, mate. And I was like, you're absolutely right, algorithm. Thank you. Here's my $10.99.
I think my wife has tainted my algorithm. We should have separate.
You've got to have separate profiles, mate. Are you kidding? My girlfriend gets her own separate profile. Otherwise, I've got Emily in Paris on the front of my Netflix.
I've got it on the front right now. But it's next to some really weird 80s shit. It's like, oh my God, is this guy all right?
Yeah. He's got very eclectic tastes.
I think we've covered this film. I don't think there's much more. Well, I feel I have. I don't think there's much more to say. I think this is a really solid, very, very well executed film. I could talk the technicals of this film for hours because I think it is done so well. The weirdest compliment I can give this is it's a Netflix film that doesn't feel like a Netflix film.
Fair, actually. Yeah. And even the one thing that made me think, oh, it's a Netflix film, which is like the outside establishing bit of their hotel that they end up running, which is, I'm going to say 90% shot on a green screen.
Yeah.
I had to look at it a few times and be like, I think that's on a green screen. Yeah. But it's done very well. It's done very well.
Yeah.
But you're right. It doesn't feel like a sort of chuck 10 million, churn this out.
Well, I think, and again, I hate saying.
And again, I would love to know
know
what the actual budget was because I've got genuinely no concept.
I think what makes a film a good film, regardless of what the platform is this has come from someone who wants to make this film. It's a film that they conceived, they created, they wrote, and they delivered. And that's the difference. It's not just Netflix going, can you make this film? It's someone's gone, I have an idea. I really enjoy this idea. I have characters. I feel like this is probably something that's been in his mind for a decade. And he's finally gone, now is the time to put this out. And I think on that alone, because the bulk of this we talked about Timo, I just think he's a really exciting director. And he's 100% really good stuff.
Yeah.
And I think
no argument here. This is a Timo movie, whichever way you slice it.
I really hope that this leads to more and more of these characters, because I would like to see more of this. Like, I'd like to see the conclusion of this story in terms of, whilst it is self-contained, it sets up something bigger, and I would like to see that play out. But also, I hope this just brings in more stuff. I think the way he films stuff is it's just incredible. I think it's just everything's thought through.
I think I've had these exact thoughts, and I think when I think these things, I think maybe it's just how the world is. There's a part of you that goes, I just want Hollywood to drive a big truck full of money to Timo's house and be like, here you go, mate. But in a way, I don't know if I
Mission
do.
Impossible stunt?
Right,
exactly. Like, if he had that level of money, what would like someone's mind like that do with it?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's not I want him to go to Hollywood and make, insert name of a Marvel movie, I suppose would be the obvious thing, is like, give Timo a Marvel movie. And you're like, well, I don't know if that's what you want, really. Yes, he's a visionary, and I think he shoots stuff, and he would make a Marvel movie look amazing.
He would have made a great Shang-Chi.
Yeah, but would he have made Doctor Strange and the Thingy of Madness, where you're like, well, 5 minutes of this felt like a Sam Raimi movie, and then the rest, I don't want his edges rounded off, so I would quite like just Netflix to give him freedom and money and him to keep doing this, and then maybe the next one is 20 minutes shorter. It is a bit more contained. It does have more of, say, an international eye, and maybe that's just me being like, a lot of this comedy doesn't land for me, it's too broad.
It really landed for me. That's the difference. So I really like that style of comedy because I love old comedy. When you said the Stooges, it really clicked why I liked it. Because I keep watching loads of old Buster Keaton at the moment, and all that real like exaggerated clowning and those big expressions and stuff.
Yeah.
I really, really like. So it really
is
landed
farce
for me.
in some points, and I think that was what caught me off guard, was because it goes from stabby, stabby, shooty, shooty to like, I've taken a drug and I've gone mad now.
We've not even talked about that. That was one of my favourite bits of the film. I knew you.
It's like panto.
It's amazing though. Again though, because if you look at it through his horror lens, that is a horror sequence. Like the fact that he turns it into a possession sequence in the middle of an action comedy.
It's ridiculous.
I fucking love that scene.
Yeah.
Like, hands down, might be my favourite scene in the film.
Come on.
Yeah. It really ticked all the boxes for me.
I can't
Anyway.
wait to hear what you think of Barbarian, because I suspect we will both enjoy it, but in very different ways.
Which is why we work well.
Which is why this podcast is so great. They're mismatched buddy cops, and they've been thrown together to review action movies.
We should wrap this up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I have a lot of things written down, but I think you...
Do you want to give me the bullet points?
Ostensibly, I enjoyed this movie. I think you enjoyed it more than I did.
Which is usually the case.
I liked... Because as we've established, my character is the character who doesn't like anything in life. But I do really like action movies, and therefore I did like this movie. But there was just a lot of things that annoyed me a little bit, or I didn't like, and I think that chipped away at my enjoyment of the good bits. The bullet points are all just dumb shit, like and I don't want to sound like Mr. IMDb. Where was the recoil? But we've already mentioned it. Like the martial arts stuff is really, really good, really well choreographed, and really well performed by the lead guy, Abhimana Aryasatya.
God, we haven't even
He's
talked
great
about this.
I think he gets hooked up, and I think the women don't get hooked up so well.
Yeah,
he gets to really shine, and I think
Martino Lee, though, who is the villain,
he's very good also.
He can fucking move.
Yeah.
The control he has on some of his kicks. And the person who played Alo, Michelle Tahili, she gets a very good fight scene to the point where she does something Hwoarang does in Tekken. And it really blew my mind.
Which bit is that?
She goes to a kick and then switches stance. And it was through a kind of POV, and it was just sublime. And I don't know if there was an action choreographer. What is wrong with me today?
This is a tough old day, isn't it? It's nearly Christmas, mate. He's winding down.
I don't know if the action choreographer, I can't say it, choreographer. It comes out, and then I realise. But I don't know if they had a sort of let everyone do their own style or tried to do it. But there was such a dance to the actual physical combat. And I know he references salsa and stuff like that, which is in itself a Bruce Lee reference. Because Bruce Lee loved dance, and that's why he got into martial arts.
Yeah.
But I just love that there was the fluidity of when they got to move. Because a lot of this is guns, guns, guns.
Yeah.
But the fluidity when they do fight is poetry.
Yes.
And I'll say that.
For me, the hand-to-hand stuff in this movie is the chef's kiss. Most of the hand-to-hand fights are really great, and if it's the leads or some artful or not so artful doubling at times, it looks really great. For me, the gun stuff is what let it down. Some of it is great. I love the use of practical effects. There's loads of like bullet hits and squibs and things exploding, and that's so great. And there's just so many bits where, and I feel like we talked about this last episode even, just dumb bad guys with their guns pointed at the floor, walking around corners, ready to get shot. And to your point, where sometimes bullets behave in different ways, all of the bad guys in this movie are wearing body armor, and every single one of them dies from being shot in the chest until one of the bad guys gets shot, and then he's fine for some reason, and they don't even sort of go, no, but remember he was wearing body armor. Anyway, they hide behind a door at one point, and holes appear in it, and then in a later scene, they flip over a balsa wood table.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
And it provides them with cover.
There's literally some woven wood that stops a bazooka, which...
Yeah, there's just a lot of that stuff that annoyed me, and I get it.
I turn a blind
silly.
eye to that because it's action comedy.
You're
right. So I turn a blind eye. That sensor in my brain switched off.
Well, you're talking me around in this pod to just chill out a little bit, and so maybe my 3-star rating would go up to a 3.5 if I was in the right frame of mind.
I don't think it's about chilling out. I think it is like just allowing the genre to be the genre. Like if this was like a serious action movie, which we assume the Last Condor will be, like that would irritate me completely.
Well, I think that is that's the issue though, isn't it? Is because when it does action, it does it so well that you're like, okay, he is not fucking around. This is a serious action movie. And then it veers so wildly to the other end of the scale that we're so used to action comedies being like quite good action and acceptable comedy.
I don't think it veers that wildly.
I think
when you watch some of Jackie Chan's early stuff and you watch like the slapstick in that,
but that's what it put me in mind of. Yeah, is what I'm saying.
I think what's interesting about this, if you compare it to like a Jackie Chan action comedy, is Jackie Chan action comedies are generally one protagonist. It's usually Jackie Chan. Until you get stuff like Rush Hour is a really weird example where you get a bit back and forth. But this is Jackie Chan usually does a lot of slapstick because he's on his own. Whereas this had all that slapstick, but it also had 5 characters playing off each other who have completely pre-screened dynamics between them. So I think it had more scope to play with that stuff, which probably why you felt it more than maybe if it was like one protagonist who suddenly does a little whoop, 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 whoop.
Right, exactly. There were just lots of little moments. The only I'll go through all my nitpicking. No, the first time that you meet the sniper, he just picks up his gun and it looks like he's never held a gun in his life. It's just, I don't know. Immediately, I was like, that guy's the unimpeachable sniper. All right. Well, he's a fun character actor. I enjoyed him. I think this is a great example of how you need to go in to watch this movie. You take it, if you haven't watched it yet, go in expecting broad comedy and very enjoyable action, and action of a level that you would not expect from a quote unquote action comedy. That's probably a good way to look at it.
I don't, if you've got the 2 hours 20, I don't think you're going to regret putting this on.
No, it's a nice bit of fun, innit?
Yeah. Action replay, you got anything?
Cool. Well, I'm trying to think of like a one good solid moment, and
I've got so many.
I think I actually did quite like the combo of action and comedy when the police lady first goes to the hotel and the main dude, Topan, is trying to pretend he's not an assassin, murderer guy, and 2 baddies come and he has to kind of like duff them up.
Yeah.
Duff them up. But like he doesn't really want to, and he has to kind of hide from the lady. That was a good bit of Chan style slapstick meets nicely choreographed martial arts. So I'll go for that. Or the bit in the gunfight that I didn't like, where the girl pulls the trigger with her other finger and a guy gets literally shot in the face 5 or 6 times on the screen. It's extraordinary.
That was a contender for my action replay because it's so viscerally enjoyable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would also like to tip my hat to all of the sound effects and Foley in this movie, which is at times so many crunches.
Some very squelchy bullets.
Squelches.
Very squelchy bullets. Yeah.
Oh,
again,
my goodness.
Horror roots.
100%.
My action replay. So not an action replay, but I really want to point this out. So Pucci Marino, who plays Dina, when she finds out her father's dead, the grief they let her let out is palpable. And I thought that was, in such a light-hearted action comedy, allowing that moment of grief really set her up for the rest of the film. And I think that was an absolute, letting that breathe on screen was just nod to the creators. Well done. But my action replay, because you know I love it.
Yeah. It's not called emotional replay, Matthew. Thank you.
You know I love a takedown. So in the final fight between the 2 main fighters, there were 2 beautiful takedowns. There was a pull him forward, so he was horizontal in the air and slam his face into the floor. I don't know what that takedown is called, but it was beautiful. I've already mentioned as well, I love the fluidity. I did love the Hwarang one from Aloe. But the camera flip, when he looks like he's about to do a sort of like a suplex, and he lifts him in the air and then he slams onto the floor. It's not quite a suplex, but it is a beautiful takedown, and the way the camera follows it, I think that absolutely just shone. They clearly just went, this is going to be fucking cool. And it was.
Yeah. There's so many nice bits of camera. That, as you said that, I remembered the bit where Topan and the baddie first meet and they have a miniature scuffle and the camera just sort of swooshes around them in a circle. But it's so well choreographed and timed that all of the moves hit and look hard. And it's just really nicely done. And that is like a beautiful marriage of timing, camera, choreography, direction. Mwah.
But it feels like they built choreography. Yes, I said it. And they then thought, what's the most pleasing way to film it? And absolute hat tip. But yeah, for me, I'm going to watch this again probably in about a year.
Fair play to you. Well, maybe we'll get a sequel in probably more than a year.
That's what I'm hoping. Like, I'll
Fingers
watch it
crossed.
before a sequel. So yeah.
I think there's no doubt we're both big fans of Timo. Matthew, we have gone arguably too long, although I don't know how long you getting deliveries from Santa has taken up in the podcast. But before we round out the episode and year, I would love for us to take a short than possibly we thought it was going to be look back at the year.
Yeah.
For England, James? No. For me.
Let me kick this off by saying the way that I approached this was I looked back at all the episodes we've recorded this year, which is probably about 20. They're all action movies, aren't they? Then I looked on my Letterboxd, which I've attempted to keep up to date this year so I could keep track of the movies that I've watched.
I think I'm
scrolling through it. Yeah. I think you would love it, mate. Get on it. Unfortunately, we don't have a referral code, but it's a really nice way to like see what other people think of movies who have similar tastes to you. I looked through my Letterboxd and I did note that there were some things I was like, oh, I have seen that and it isn't on there. So this is not the definitive list, but I did try and keep track of most things. And it averaged out to I've watched about 4 movies a month, which I suppose is about 1 a week on average. And if this podcast comes out every 2 weeks, that means I've watched 2 out of 4 of those are action movies. But then if we think the amount of movies that I watched that I maybe wanted to feature on the pod, but then didn't measure up, basically what I'm saying is out of all the movies I've watched this year, the enormous majority of them have been action movies. And scrolling through my Letterboxd, I was like, okay, I think next year I need to broaden the remit a little bit, try and spread my wings. As much as I love watching action movies, and clearly I do, we've got a podcast about it. I think there's space for a few other big hitters that maybe have escaped my radar this year.
That's all good. I don't think it's been a great year for film, personally. I think there's been some good films, but I think we've had some real strong years for film the last 3, and I think this has been a fine year for film.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, with that in mind, why don't we do a top 3 movies of the year?
Oh, go on, you go first, because I'm still editing in my head, because I don't want... Once this is out there, it's locked.
No, I get it. Well, I am mainly basing this off of looking through my Letterboxd, because if there's something I've missed that hasn't been noted and reviewed, then my bad. And to your point of editing in your head, my number 3 was basically the 1 and 2 were anything above 4 stars, which there was only 2 movies, which says a lot about me and maybe my rating system as we go into the new year.
Maybe you don't like things.
Oh, God damn it. But I think there are a lot of things vying for the 3rd place. And among the things that got 4 stars from me this year were Top Gun Maverick, which, you know, is we loved and is pod adjacent. Kimmy, like that a lot. Accident Man 2, they're the action-y ones. Oh, and Prey, big fan of. Outside of that, not an enormous amount of non-action movies to choose from, but among them were In the Heights, which actually, I don't know if it came out this year and I was late to it. Jackass Forever. And
that's in my potential could have gone ins.
Justice Week Triangle of Sadness.
It was great.
Yeah, it was.
Technically an action comedy as well.
Action comedies, Jackass Forever.
Yeah.
Fair, technically. It's going to break the system if we have to categorize that as action comedy. So for the sake of this podcast, I think my number 3 will be Top Gun Maverick, since it
Nice.
is the most podcast of those. Although Prey could be in there too.
Yeah.
Where are you coming in on number 3, Matt?
I think it's a 3-way tie.
I will say, number 2 and 1, I've only got one selection for. So I'll allow us to
Yeah, that's what I'm
not
trying to do.
be non-committal for number 3.
Yeah. So, same as you, Top Gun and Prey, both in there. I love them, but I would also argue, because I watched it 3 times at the cinema, really enjoyed The Batman.
Interesting.
And just because I think about it a lot, but I don't, when I talk about films this year, I rarely talk about it. But
Well, I think that is probably a movie that I would give 4 stars, and maybe I forgot to log it on my letterbox. But yes, I did enjoy
broke.
it. God damn it. Must revisit.
Yeah,
It's
so
also
probably
so fucking long, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
finding 3 hours to pop that on.
But I think that is one that affords its 3 hours, so no issues. Top Gun, The Batman, and Prey, with an honourable mention to Sunak.
Yes, Sanak.
Yes, Sunak. Rishi Sunak, with an honourable mention to Rishi Sunak. Keep that in, I don't even care.
Can we get him on the pod next? Is he an action movie fan?
Why can't I speak today?
Matt's clocked out for Christmas. Yes, Sanak, I enjoyed a great deal, and I would like to give it an honourable mention as one of my first windows into Indian cinema. But without meaning to foreshadow anything, Matthew, I think we all know where this is headed.
With this, yeah. I think it's both of our number 2.
Let's go to number 2. Then I'm going to let you start number 2, because I think you just gave the game away a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I knew this would be your 2 or 1, but yeah. Absolutely.
I think we're going to have the same 2 and 1.
RRR.
Okay.
RRR, number 2.
He's done it. Yeah, I put RRR as my number 1.
Yeah. I knew it was going to be, and it's my number 2. It's my number 2.
Well, then I think we can discuss them both, because with that in mind, I will tell you what my number 2 is, and I suspect maybe it's your number 1. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
That's my number 1. Yeah.
Okay, we're all paddling in the same pool. We're all in the same ballpark here. I think RRR pipped it for me because I think it just opened my eyes to Indian cinema, really. And it's the only movie in recent and actual memory that I've been to see in the cinema twice and enjoyed the exact same amount, if not more, the second time, because I took 2 people who had no idea what they were in for with me.
Yeah.
I have watched RRR, I think 3 times this year, and I've watched Everything Everywhere only once in the cinema, and so I do really want to revisit it, not least because the screening I went to had Dutch subtitles for all of the Cantonese spoken, which suggests to me I may have missed some nuance at times.
I think both of them do something for me that is just the perfect cinema. They are big spectacles. They are both completely their own thing. And the thing that I think I enjoyed most about both of these, in very different ways, they are just so joyful. I think they're so sometimes lost in a film. And I think the amount of joy that was just piled into both of them, and the amount of humanity, especially in Everything Everywhere All at Once, I just think is on another level. I think both of them are going to be heralded as absolute titans of their time. I think in 20 years, they will be the films that people look back, the teenagers and the early 20s people who are going to become filmmakers in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And we're going to absolutely see a film where you just go, oh, that's what you loved. That's what got you into cinema. And I'm so glad. One, I love it when this happens. The amount of you who have tweeted when you've watched RRR or tagged me and stuff, I'm so glad that everyone has the same reaction where you just want to share it. I think that's RRR's biggest thing. We've said this on the podcast. Never seen anything like it before. And
I'm so rarely like early to things, and that was just one where I was just like, "Oh my god, everyone has to see this. Yeah. Everyone needs to see it."
And again, if you've not watched it and you've got some time over Christmas, Put it on.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And you can watch it, I would argue, with the family to some degree.
Yeah.
It's got something for everyone.
Yeah. And Everything Everywhere All at Once, if you've not watched it yet, I think it's going to clean up at the awards. It is just, it's sublime. It's filmmaking at the top of its game whilst on a budget. I can't get over how impressive this film is. Every time I watch it or I think about it, something impresses me more. And it's perfectly crafted, it's perfectly delivered, and it's just so unique. And like I say, so full of humanity that if you've not watched this film, like, my wife doesn't like martial arts films. She's generally fine with the sort of films I watch. She was crying in the middle of this and she absolutely loved it. And I think if you don't like this sort of genre, which is weird, you're listening to this podcast, but even if you don't like sci-fi, if you don't like fantasy, if you don't like martial arts, I think the actual characterization, the message, and again, the humanity of this will absolutely just pull you through it. I think it is a perfectly delivered character piece in the most bananas delivery system.
It's so bananas, isn't it? And I think, to speak to both of these, they're such a singular vision.
Yeah.
They're just, this is what this movie is going to be. Trust me. And not to talk about the thousands of people involved in making these movies, obviously. But I think, they're so auteur-y.
Yeah.
Auteurish? Auteur.
Well, they've just got that thing that makes them stand above. Like, they're great films that just stand out. Just before we leave on this, I only just remembered this when I was talking about characterization. That film was Everything Everywhere was so well done. There's a beautiful thing where I think Colin Farrell thought the rocks were CGI because there's so much.
It's true. They managed to put personality into actual rocks.
Actual rocks. That's how good that film is. We can't go on. This is going to end up being the 2-hour, 20-minute version of a podcast. Podcasts should all be under 60 minutes.
And we've done maybe 2 episodes in 25 that have come under that. I think we've landed in a lovely place, which is where finally we agreed on something. Yeah. We're all circling each other and sort of agreeing, but from different angles. And I suppose in the sense that our number ones and number twos are the same but different exactly underlines that.
Our number ones and twos are the same but different.
It's the genre is film/comedy, and that's the sort of stuff they come for. It's been a great year for a to do an action movie podcast. I'll say that. What a treat. Yeah. I'm very excited we've made it through year 1.
2023 looks great already as well.
A lot of big things coming. If you've listened this far, should 2023 mark the beginning of season 2 of Dodge This?
Absolutely.
Every episode has been season 1 because there's been no deliberate breaks. But maybe the new year could hark a new season.
I am just leading up to, all I'm thinking about is at some point next year, we're going to sit down and we're going to discuss John Wick 4. And I think
oh my goodness,
already that is probably going to be the year of the film of next year.
Put it in your calendars, everybody. Well, Mission Impossible, is it 7?
Yep.
Is it 7 they're up to? I think, already we've got Extraction 2 also. A lot of big things coming up that we're very excited about. And of course, The Fist of the Condor Part 1. So lot. Also, Plane is going to be there.
Let's start fading out. There's so much is coming. Simon, it's been a bloody joy this year.
I've loved it.
Have you yourself and everyone listening, still can't speak, have a lovely Christmas.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. And if you listen to this after...
They will be, because I don't think it's going to go up before Christmas.
Keep continuing having a lovely year. And
continue
when you
enjoying
get to
the festive
Christmas,
season.
Whatever your next Christmas is, enjoy that.
Yes, or whatever festive time of year you celebrate. Enjoy the new year of the whatever calendar it is that we use, the Gregorian calendar. Greco-Roman, that's wrestling, isn't it?
They faded Simon out after 20 hours of...
Matthew,
let's go. I think we should go.
Room
just fade it. Just fade it.
We'll see you for season 2 of Dodge This.
Bye.
In 2023. Bye. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, still talking about the Greco-Roman calendar.
Where's the recoil?